Hey guys, coming back for Shameless, Season 6, Episode 7, Pimp's Paradise, and I was really looking forward to this episode. It really seemed like last week that they were going in a direction where the Gallaghers might start to, get some stuff back and maybe turn some things around, maybe come back together as a family, and I was really interested in seeing if this episode was going to do that. I have to say, though, that not only was this episode disappointing, but this was a completely the wrong direction to take this season into. I mean, this episode, I thought, was really dumb, and it made all the other episodes seem completely pointless. And this is the first episode that legitimately pissed me off, really. I mean, this was tell me you fucking need me territory. You guys remember that episode? The episode where I started to dislike Sammy and started to hate her as a character? Very much like this episode, except for the fact that I found a lot of the storylines here to be very pointless and really dumb. What this episode did, I was very upset with, and it was by far my least favorite episode of the season. Look, I haven't said that this is my least favorite season of Shameless, but after this episode, oh yeah, this is definitely my least favorite season of Shameless. Because last season definitely had some things I enjoyed. It had some really bad things, but it had some really good things as well. This season, I don't think they know what they're doing. The writers, I personally think, don't really know where to take this show. And this is going to be a rant. This isn't even going to be me talking about everything that happened in the episode. It's going to be more of me just talking about how infuriated I was because this episode really pissed me off. There were so many things I was really upset about, and I'm going to talk about the things that should not have happened in this episode, that did not need to happen, and that were completely pointless, I think. Now, let's just get to what I've been enjoying about this season, because I love this idea of the Gallaghers being separate, having to lose their house, having to start over again, them having to think about, now that they're separated, they can't really be a family and things like that. That's a very cool idea, especially for a dysfunctional family like the Gallaghers. They're going in such different directions. Definitely like seeing. What it seemed like last week is that Carl was going to give Debbie a house for her and her daughter because Fiona wasn't going to let her back, and that they were starting to slowly come together. Like Carl was going to come back to Fiona and Sean and everything. That's what was going to happen there. And then all of a sudden, I did not think that they were going to get their house back in this episode. The problem with this episode is not that they got their house back, it's the fact that we haven't seen them suffer enough. We need to see these characters lose before they win. And that's the same with every show. If a character loses something major, you can't just take an episode and then, oh, they're all better. You can't really do that. You need to see a character lose a little bit before they can win. And this episode especially did not realize that. This episode did not realize that they need to finish these storylines, and a lot of the directions they took these storylines in were really dumb. Let's talk about the thing that really pissed me off in this episode, is this character of Queenie. Now, Queenie, I do like the character. I don't dislike her character by any means. I think that she's actually quite funny. I like where they're going with her. I do like her overall. It's just what they did with Frank here was atrocious and not at all the direction to take him in. What I thought that Frank was trying to do this season is trying to be a father to his kids and trying to be there for his kids to make up for the fact that he wasn't there for them earlier, and to be this sort of like fatherly figure to Debbie because he hasn't been there for her in a long time. And that's kind of what, Bianca's death made him realize. This episode completely throws that away. This episode is completely different from that. It makes you think completely different things. Because throughout this entire episode, Frank and Queenie are just having sex every 5 seconds, and it's disgusting, okay? It is disgusting. It's disgusting. It's just, I hate it. It's really disgusting to think about, and, I do like the character of Queenie, though. She has, like, this free love, meaning that Frank's newfound infatuation won't keep her around, you can tell, and that she really does love, she really did have this whole thing with Frank, but she seems to be very much into just the idea of just going from guy to guy like that. So Queenie's the kind of character that I think she's okay, but what she really needed here, and especially Chucky as well, did Chucky really need to come back this season? Because what it seemed like they were doing is that he was only back so that the Gallaghers could just forget him, which in hindsight I think was a pretty funny idea. But what they did with Chucky here is not funny, okay? I don't think if they realize that this isn't funny, but it is definitely not funny at all, because this is just stupid. Chucky, all of a sudden, because of him being in prison, he's now been brainwashed that for whatever reason that Adolf Hitler's a good person. And I don't understand this. I don't understand why he would think this. I don't understand how they could brainwash him so much, how Chucky could be that dumb. But this was ridiculous, and I'm not even really going to talk about it because it was stupid, it was dumb, I wasn't a fan of it. I really don't think this was a direction to take Chucky's character in at all. it's dumb. It's really dumb. And we end the episode with him doing a book report on Hitler's Mein Kampf and talking about how Hitler's a good person and things like that. It was just stupid. It really was. I was not a fan of it. I thought it was really stupid. And Frank does get him unsuspended, basically crying free speech, plays out family man in front of Queenie, which was really stupid. The fact that Frank was trying to defend him from liking Hitler, I thought was really dumb, and he only cared to get Chucky back in school because Queenie was trying to homeschool him, and he didn't want that, and Frank didn't want to threaten the sexcapades, and which really just made Frank look very selfish, and it really didn't seem like that's the Frank we're dealing with this season. It seemed like Frank was a lot more caring this season, like he actually wanted to be there for his kids. And I know I shouldn't judge Frank that way, like I really shouldn't be surprised that Frank did this, but it just doesn't seem to go with the arc. I mean, we start off this season with Frank being so upset about losing Bianca and so upset about her, and now all of a sudden he's moved on. He's now with Queenie. He's interested in having sex with her and nothing else. That's all he wants. He wants to have sex constantly, and he doesn't want anything else to come, interfere with that. And it's really stupid. And Frank does convince her to stay, and basically with Fiona over at Sean's, they makes them basically Queenie is kind of like taken over. Fiona's no longer like the woman of the house. It's now Queenie, and Fiona knows that and everything, which I just I wasn't a fan of this at all. I thought this was really dumb, and I really didn't like this, I have to say. Fiona also really didn't have much to do in this episode. Pretty much her entire plot was just that Liam had head lice, and she does get to go back to her job and things like that, and basically, she gives up during dinner and I did like the direction they took Fiona in, though, that Fiona wants to be more independent. If you remember last week, she doesn't really see herself as their sister, as their mother, as their, like, the person that runs the house. She just wants to be their sister, and they're not really her problem anymore. So she decides that she wants to leave the Gallagher house, move in with Sean, get a place there, and basically just start her own life, because that's really what she's ready to do. She's ready to move on from them, which I think was a good direction to take her character in. It was just Queenie in general was not needed. I don't really understand why this needed to happen. I really felt we would have benefited more if we would have had some more episodes of Fiona at that apartment with Sean by themselves, trying to figure things out. I would have been fine with that. We didn't need Queenie to just come in and fuck up everything, because really that's what this character did. And as much as I like the actress, and as much as I think that she's funny, I don't like her. I don't think she needed to be here. I don't think that she was necessary, and I wasn't a fan of it, I have to say. So Queenie really didn't work for me either. And then everything else in this episode, Debbie, Carl, everything. Debbie especially. Debbie was completely just, she had a plot and then just went away. Basically, Frank was trying to convince her to seduce Erica to make herself look like a lesbian so that way she could stay and try to get into the house. And then for whatever reason, she gets tips from Carl about oral sex and things like that. When they had the house back, why couldn't Carl just tell her, hey, we have the house back, you can just come back, you don't have to worry about this? This really was stupid, and it really seemed like the writers just dropped this plot, and then all of a sudden she finds out that that they got the house back and she can come home, and she tells Erica right away that she's 15, only likes boys. Suddenly this plot is over with, which I thought was really dumb. And then Lip in this episode as well, the same thing happens. He suddenly no longer is going into college. He is basically evicted from college. He can no longer be in college, which is really dumb. And I understand it's because of what happened with Helene. And his obsession with Helene, though, needs to end. He goes to this boarding house where all these girls are all over his dick, because literally every girl that comes in contact with Lip just wants to have sex with him. There's not a single girl on this show that doesn't want to have sex with Lip. Seriously, give me one girl in the show that doesn't want to have sex with Lip. Seriously, it's annoying. And he has this obsessive thing with Helene going on. He's yelling at her in her house, trying to get her to come out, and he's really upset. This other girl tried to have sex with him. He told her no, and just that was pointless. I'm not a fan of this at all. I really didn't like the way this was done. I thought that was dumb. Between that and Debbie, I wasn't a fan of that either. And then the thing that made me most upset is Carl. Carl especially, I was very upset with in this episode, mainly because of the fact that it really seemed like we were going this direction with Carl, where he was trying to turn things around. He was trying to be different. And yes, there are some things that he did try to do differently, like how he tries to, where he goes up to Dominique and he doesn't say anything rude to her and he kind of just talks to her normally. I understand that. But he's still acting like a criminal, and he's still acting very strange, and I didn't really like that at all. I really wasn't was not a fan of that as much. I thought that that really wasn't the direction to go in. And I understand that he's really shaken by Nick possibly being murdered and what Nick could do. And he's not upset that Nick was murdered. He's upset at what Nick did to this little boy. He didn't know that Nick was that dangerous, and he really is obviously scared of what happened. He doesn't really know where to go from there, and I understand that. But me personally, I really didn't think that this worked at all. I did really like the scene, though, between Carl and Sean, when Sean confronted him, said, look, I don't understand this criminal stuff, and I don't understand the way you're acting, but I do know what it's like to lose someone. And it's a good scene. You see he's very confused, and it's good. It's just not really, I think, the direction to take his character in. Show him confused, but don't really do it the way they did in this episode. They didn't really do it in the way I would have wanted them to. In fact, they didn't really take it all that seriously either, which I didn't really like, and again, didn't really work for me at all. Um, and then the only thing that worked for me in this episode, really at the end of the day, was really the only plot that worked besides the whole thing going on with Fiona. Like I said, I think Fiona was very well handled. Everything else was shit. Everything else was very badly handled. That scene with Carl and Sean, I liked. And Ian and Caleb, I thought was well done as well. I thought this was also very well handled. We see Caleb, we find out his parents really don't like the fact that he's gay, and they're very against homosexuals. And he takes Ian to this wedding basically, and he doesn't really know what to do. But Ian kind of gets him to come out of his shell. They start dancing, acting sexually towards each other, showing his parents that he is gay. This is who he is. They're not going to stop him, and I like this. I like seeing Caleb and Ian move forward, taking that next step. I like seeing that. I like seeing them officially being a couple. It's good. It's a good direction for these characters to go in, and I definitely really like that. Everything else, like I said here, though, was crap. I hated it. I thought it was dumb. I thought it was unnecessary, and it really seemed like all these plots that they started were completely unnecessary in the end. I really was not a fan of them, and I only talked very briefly about them, but that's really what it seemed like. It really seemed very brief. Like, Debbie had a plot. Oh, no, she doesn't. Lip has a plot. Oh, nope, he doesn't. It's pointless. Let's just move ahead from it, and it's really stupid, I have to say. The fact they have their house back, it's just, this season, I don't know where the hell it's going, but it's going to take a lot for me to continue watching the show. Honestly, guys, I'm contemplating whether or not I should continue watching the show, because it really is getting very pointless, and the only thing I cared about here was Fiona's plot. Like I said, I think that was very well handled. Fiona's always very well handled. I think Fiona's probably been the most well-realized character all season long. I have not seen a single plot with Fiona this season that I haven't disliked, and I think she's been handled very, very well here. Lip was shit, though, and the whole thing. Then there was this thing going on with Kevin V as well, which I kind of like, because it got a chance for us to show the fun side of Kevin V, where Svetlana was watching their baby. It was kind of funny, but I just didn't care about that very much either. So overall, this episode I thought was pretty pointless. I wasn't the biggest a fan of it. I do like that Queenie did let Debbie back in the house, because Fiona wasn't gonna let her, but Queenie did. It shows that Queenie is taking over, but I can't really tell. Does Queenie really care about them, or is she really gonna be the villain of this season? I can't really tell where they're going with her, but I pray to God that Sammy's not coming back. Please stop this Nazi stuff with Chucky. It's not funny. I don't know why they think it's funny. It's stupid. It's unnecessary. It's just, it's really dumb. Where they've taken Frank is terrible, really. They've taken Frank in a terrible direction. I do like seeing Carl, though, question himself if this is who I really am. Do I really want to go in this direction? Or do I want to stay this way? He's very conflicted, and he doesn't really know what to do, and I like seeing. I think that's a very well-handled storyline. It's just everything else, just the talking, everything, is just not working for me. And then the whole thing with Lip, that's not working. By far the worst stuff in this episode was Lip, and then Debbie, don't even get me started. That stuff was very badly handled. A very messy episode. I don't really have much to say about it, but guys, I really hope the next week's episode is a lot better, because this episode really didn't work for me very much at all. I really was not a fan of it, and I really felt that this episode really ruined this season. I mean, this season was going in some good directions, definitely, and this episode really did ruin it by bringing all the Gallaghers back together. Now is not the time to do it. Do it towards the end of the season. I wouldn't find that. We're on episode 7. We still have like 5 episodes left. This is not the time to completely just bring everyone back together. It was not time to do that in this episode. They did not need to do that, and I don't know why they did that. But whatever, guys, let me know what you guys saw this season of this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think they have a clear direction this season? I really don't think they do. I feel like they're just throwing whatever shit they have in front of us so they can just move forward and be like, all right, let's just try this out, see if it works. So that's what it seems like this season is. They're trying stuff out, and it's not working. And I gotta say that they really need to get their act here, because this episode really didn't work at all. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for Arrow, which definitely was a lot better than Shameless, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.